Take.
Hello, Lucinda, is that working? Are we recording?
I think so. I think so. I think so. There's a red light.
Okay, great. Well, hello, I'm Oscar. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you. I've had to go to Norwich to my old alma mater. Anyway, I've just come in to talk to you about a few ideas that I've had, and Lucinda will talk you through the drawings and do it all properly, but I just thought I'd introduce myself a little bit and show you some of the ideas that I was thinking about. Well, isn't that splendid? Here I am talking about churches, and there's a church going off in the background. Brilliant, that's just perfect. Okay, so a few ideas. The first idea was, well, if you read the press, you'd be under the impression that the church is dying in England. Churches are closing every day and being turned into swanky flats. Well, that's sort of true. But it's also true that 100,000 new people joined churches in London last year. 100,000! There's about 7 million people in London, so that's kind of 1 in 70 new members of churches. It's extraordinary. And anyway, what that means is that because there aren't any churches anymore, because they've all been turned into swanky flats and supermarkets, churches are springing up all over the place. In kind of old office blocks, warehouses, and things, well, things that don't have any presence. Unlike this, for example. This is St Pancras Church. It's a fabulous big bit of stone, isn't it? It's great. I love it. Anyway, so I was thinking about this problem about there not being enough churches in London, which is kind of a new problem, and then Lucinda and I were on holiday in Norway. I told you there's lots of different ideas springing up all over the place here, but anyway, we're in holiday on Norway, looking at some fabulous old churches. Maybe I should tell you a bit about tin tabernacles first. So, the last time there was a real crisis with churches in the UK, and in fact all over the world, was at the height of empire. And there were these things called tin tabernacles, where people just built these kind of flat-pack churches that were made out of tin, rather than solid bits of stone like this. And then they were shipped all over the world. And there's a couple that are still sort of left lurking in London, so there's one in Hackney and there's one in Kilburn. You can go and have a look at them. They're marvellous, wonderful things. But they're not very solid. And if you're trying to preach in them when it's raining, all you can hear is the kind of drumming of rain on the roof, and that's not very good at all. Nobody can hear you speak. It's terrible. Anyway. So where was I? Oh yes, Lucinda and I, we were on holiday in Norway, looking at these fabulous churches that the Norwegians and, well, the Scandinavians in general just have, called stave churches. And they are fabulous timber things. And we were looking at that, and then we were looking at Eureka's kind of marvellous flat-pack stuff, and it occurred to me that maybe we could do the same sort of thing with a church. We could have a flat-pack church. So, well, I used to be an architect. Well, not really an architect, but I qualified in architecture, but never practiced. So I did some sketches and some little drawings, and Lucinda will talk you through those. But I thought what we could do is we could take one of these fabulous Norwegian churches, make it out of something new and funky and modern, like laminated timber, which is a good, solid thing, a bit like this stone. And then we could just ship it across, put it on boats, and you could have a flotilla of churches coming down the Thames. An extraordinary kind of like, just think of Tower Bridge opening, and this whole line of churches, some in boxes, like shipping containers I guess, and some kind of built up, just floating sedately down the river. Amazing. The word of God being brought to the masses by boat. You know, there's something about St Paul's journeys and nave being a part of a ship and a part of a church. All of these things are coming together. Anyway, so I've sketched it up. But what I'd really like you to do is to make it waterproof and insulated and acoustically perform and all that sort of stuff. And then we can make loads of money and have churches everywhere. What do you say?